Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super Fantify. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mecha-Ude, Mechanical Arms, Season 1, Episode 3. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So I love that we have the opening of, it's not even Hikaru, it's Alma doing all the workout, and basically it's because Aki said that she was going to train him, because after running some tests, it's like they brought up they told her about it last episode that they don't need anything from Hikaru, because technically, the way Alma's set up, he's derived to the top of your hoodie and not to you, so you can't even technically draw out Alma's powers. But it's like, how does that work? Because once again, he did activate him, and it's like, even they said like it shouldn't be possible to activate towards clothes, but it's like, Alma is apparently the trigger arm. Once again, I don't know what that means. I brought that up last episode. We know the other one on the leader of arms is his brother, but does that mean like there can only be one trigger arm and his brother doesn't share any of that, or what? Considering like Alma's the one they're after. Like, they're not after his brother, but I guess it's like maybe he's like a once in a lifetime species amongst his people. I don't know. But with that all said and done, they basically have a graph showing like, okay, this is how much of that substance is in your body. Was it? I always forget it. It's like arbitrium, I think that might be it. It's like, oh, you got this level of it in your body, and it's like, okay. I was like, what we're gonna find out, it's not even like, it's gonna be like slightly below the average or something, and then they show the real scaling of what's the average amount in a person's body, and his is so much lower. I was like, oh man, that's such a middle finger to Hikaru. I was like, but I mean, you get that sometimes with your show, those special cases of like shonen protagonists who don't have like an affinity for a certain thing, but they end up being like, because once again, I've not watched My Hero Academia, but I know like tiny bits here and there, like, because Deku's his quirk is weird, like, because I've come across stories where like the main protagonist, like, people have these abilities and the main protagonist kind of doesn't have one. There's a manga called like MXO that kind of deals with a similar thing with its protagonist. Like, you're not a special case. Everyone else can use magic except for you, but you kind of fake it till you make it type of situation in this case. So that's what like Hikaru's situation kind of reminds me of. But yeah, they're gonna leave Alma in his hands, but it's only for now until they can find a more suitable host, because it's like, yeah, you're worthless, you're worse than just your average person, and this is a trigger arm you got, so you're actually doing more harm than good, because that means someone could easily take Alma from you. But Aki sticks up for him, and I think that's because despite everything, Aki remembers like when they like clashed in episode 2, no, it was episode 1 when they clashed, how he like kind of ended up overpowering her. So she knows there's more to it, and she kind of likes Hikaru, so she's like, right, you kind of came through for me last episode, so, or at least tried to. So, no, you did. You came through for me last episode, so I'm going to try and help you out, because I know you want to help out Alma. But then we find out June, which, Kagami as a corporation is trying to track him down. The guy who's the head of Division 3 tried to be like, yo, I'll do it. But his 2 agents last episode got their asses handed to him. One of them returned, but the other one, I guess, just straight up got caught. We haven't found out whether he's been in prison and interrogated or what. But like I said, I don't think what's her name, Tosu, like, left him behind. So we never really got clarification on his circumstances. But either way, they're out looking for June. Specifically, it was like the White Ravens are, and it's kind of like a biker gang or at least the leader. I think it's was it Amalda? He's the leader, and I really like, because he definitely is a biker gang leader, because his mechanical arm his Mecha-Ude turns into a bike. I do think it's interesting. His does not have those chains on it. His has a free will of its own. So it's like, oh, so I guess maybe only certain divisions handle that. Because the guy from episode 1 that Aki fought like twice at the beginning of the episode, but also near the end of the episode, I was like, does that mean that guy is like, maybe he's from a division that does that, but not every division does? I guess you can work for Kagami and just have a good relationship with your Mecha-Ude and like not have to like make them subservient to you, because the Mecha-Udes that are like enslaved like that don't talk. Their free will is taken from them, but Home Dude's bike Mecha-Ude was talking and everything. So it's like, yeah, that's such an interesting thing. Once again, I guess certain divisions have like maybe their leeway with that, or certain groups within Kagami have their leeway. But either way, we find out that Jun is the current CEO's little brother. And obviously last episode he picked up the artificial Mecha-Ude, and he's been going around like he's looking for Alma, and so he's taking the Mecha-Udes of anyone he comes across, specifically arms members, and we find out that that's deadly. If they never recover their arms in a certain amount of time, couple days, they die. Because obviously, like, the connection between a Mecha-Ude and the human is the arbitrium. I always have to pause because I can never like it, that word doesn't come naturally to me. You know, just like, you know, it take a while probably for vibranium to kind of stick in my head or something like that. So, you know, or orichalcum. It took me forever to learn how to properly pronounce orichalcum. But either way, I'm curious, like, because even they've admitted, the leaders of arms, like, they don't fully understand the whole arbitrium situation as well, like how that fully works. But basically, that's what gives the Mecha-Udes the power to fuse with them and to draw upon as kind of a power source for the human, and it also gives the human increased powers and stuff. But it leaves like this gaping hole in them once they like forcibly removed. I wonder, is there any way to remove them without that like backlash? Probably not. That's probably the only means. Like, they have to be torn away from you and leave you in such a state. But yeah, they don't. But Aki immediately latches onto the fact that she looks at the wounds on some of the victims and she believes it's a worm type, which the leader's like, do not go looking for your revenge. Focus on protecting Alma. It's not really about Hikaru. You kind of have to protect both of them, but it's mainly about protecting Alma. And so Aki does exactly what she's doing because she's dead set on her revenge. You figure it because it was personal business and she refused to tell Hikaru about it. So she ended up dragging him along while she's trying to get information about the person, because she figured obviously it had to be someone from Kagami. So I need to find the worm type Mecha-Ude. But the problem is, she was like, once again, she's very much like I storm forward, full speed ahead type of situation, as I've talked about time and time again. She doesn't think things through. She just goes by instinct. But it's like, yeah, she's mad at Hikaru from getting too far away from her. It's like, I was next to you when you attacked everybody and I got flown back. It's like, she's so like, what are you doing? Like, stay next to me. It's like, I tried to. Staying next to you is actually more dangerous. But he ends up running into Jun, and he sees Jun using it as Halo. He's like, oh, this kid's in need of help. I need to help him. Then he ends up getting grabbed by, like I said, Imelda, the dude that's on the bike. Luckily, Aki shows up, and then she starts chastising him even more. Just, once again, one person after another constantly telling him how he can't do anything, don't do anything, how useless he is. And it's like, Hikaru already does not have the most self-worth or confidence. Like I said, I don't know what that stems from. Maybe that's just a natural aspect if he's always been like that. But like, just like, he's just never been the one that like, it doesn't come second nature to him to just kind of like jet forward and just try to help people. I mean, he wants to be helpful, but he gets petrified and just doesn't know what to do. I don't know whether it's just a fear thing. And like I said, I'm so curious if there is a story beat behind why he is like that, you know? Whether it's something as small as, hey, there's a pregnant lady and I want to get up from my chair, but I just don't know, like, it's like a little small. It seems like he can be very indecisive and he's scared to like take action for whatever reason. And he's petrified, and obviously he got pissed at Aki because he's like, the only reason why I'm here in the first place is because you dragged me here. He's like, you're the one that's here on this mission. You won't even tell me why you're going about it, and you're the one that dragged me here, even though you're not supposed to be. You were expressly told not to investigate this worm type, but you're still doing it anyway, and you're dragging me along. I think what he said did strike a chord with Aki. She's like, fine, let him go home or whatever. But I think there's also an element of, she kind of recognizes, like, if she probably doesn't want to admit, like, he is kind of right. I was told, like, I'm so focused on my revenge. Am I really even, like, I'm the one that's trying to do both things at once, protect you while also looking for the worm type. I'm so focused on my revenge, and I'm a step closer than I've probably ever been in her mind. So Jun tried to go after Hikaru, but Aki got in the way, and he ended up defeating Aki and taking her Mecha-Udes from her. and kind of use her as bait to draw out Hikaru and Alma, because Alma's like, right, don't run off, like, go apologize to Aki, she's trying to protect us. But then, turns out they find out what happened to her, and the boss of Arms is telling him just to sit back, do nothing, because a bodyguard will come through. And for Hikaru, it's like, right, I can't do anything because I never do anything. He's like, the only time I ever did anything, only person that's ever given me courage to do something is Alma. Like, Alma's the one that jumps to action. I only stepped in last episode because you went off on your own. I didn't want, but it's like, he can be, it just takes the right motivation to get him there. But he can be like I want to help people, I want to do the right thing. It's just, he just doesn't have enough self-confidence. So they decide to go after June, and they work together to dodge his attacks, but because he can't draw out Alma's power, there's only so much he can do. And ultimately, June does kind of get the victory and rips Alma off of the hood. Now, their circumstances are special, so it's like that normally would be enough to cripple someone, as we can see, like having your Mecha-Ude removed like puts you in like a catatonic state, it seems like. But his circumstances are different. Alma was never directly tied to him, but it's still like there is still this backlash of like, well, they are a distance away from each other, but not a large enough distance that Alma being in a weakened state from that and almost passing. It's like not like it's not their situation. I guess the best way to put it is because of their unique circumstance, if they ever did get separated again, it wouldn't be as devastating as it would for any other Mecha-Ude user, because of their circumstances are very specific. But even he's saying like, right, why is it that June's like, how is it that, Alma's still moving even though they've been disconnected? Once again, Alma's like tied to clothes and not human skin. So once again, maybe it's just something special about Hikaru and Alma, because once again, Alma was able to reach out, and despite how low his arbitrium is, he was still the only one that could hear Alma call out. Like, despite being a distance away, he's surrounded by his friends at school, and they didn't hear Alma's voice, only he did. And so he reaches out to Alma, and Alma becomes like a supersized gauntlet on his arm, as we see in the opening. Now, this transformation is definitely what, especially when I was seeing it in the opening, I was like, ooh, it definitely gives me extreme Katsukiyo Hitman Reborn vibes, especially in this. Like, he definitely gives me, like, obviously, because, like, he has, like, a flame above his eyes. I don't know if that's supposed to be, like, a sensor, but it looked like it was, like, flame, like a flame on his eyes. It definitely reminds me specifically of Suna. But, yeah, he was able to kind of, like, I'm curious, will he be able to fire anything from it, or is it just for melee attacks? Because he basically fired the fist like a rocket, and June was able to block some of it, but Hikaru runs over, injects his hand into it, and it just kind of powers the fist even more, and they were able to break through. I don't know if that means his Mecha-Ude, like how that works, considering it's an artificial Mecha-Ude. It was defeated, but I don't know if that means it's destroyed. It doesn't. It's fake, so it doesn't have a consciousness like them, because once again they're sentient beings, whereas like his is just man-made. I wonder, was there elements of their species technology used, or was it just purely human technology replicating in Mecha-Ude, or did they have a Mecha-Ude as like a foundational piece, and they just added and tweaked it with human technology? I don't know. Probably more so the former than the latter, probably. But then, like, the main guy, a new guy we got introduced to at Kagami, shows up, and it's like, well, it sucks, because he's definitely Hikaru and Alma definitely aren't in a position to fight. But June's like, no, I'm going to be the one to kill him. And the guy's like, all right, fine, since the young master wants this. Besides, I was only hired, which I'm wondering, so I wonder, is he outsourced then? Since he's like, yeah, I'm only getting paid. I don't know if he's like an outsource of, like, all these other people work for Kagami except for him, and that he's outsourced. Or is it a thing of like, he's like, no, like, my extra pay this for this particular job. Maybe he works at Kagami, but it's just pay by commission type of thing, based on the job and stuff, rather than just a typical income. Who knows how the villainy stuff works, like when it comes to payments and stuff. I'm also curious, because like the main groups are Arms and Kagami, but I'm wondering, are there any other organizations in this world who have collected the Mecha-Udes, or are these two the only ones? Maybe there are smaller groups out there that just haven't chosen a side, who kind of stay third-party neutral. I don't know. But luckily, because I was about to say it would suck because he's about to take off with Aki's Mecha-Udes, but luckily he left them behind. And kind of, I guess, like a, parting gift of being like, well, I'm only supposed to get June, and I'm not really here to fight you, and he wants me to let you go anyway, so here's kind of reward, like, I'll let you keep these. And because they were going to be, you know, especially you want them, and I don't really want to fight. Well, I'm fine with fighting you, but I'm not paid to fight you, so I'm going to let this go for now. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what his circumstances are. But luckily, they were able to return her Mecha-Udes to her, and Aki's okay. And I think she's a little bashful being on the receiving end of his help, because it's like, right, she's kind of, well, once again, he technically helped last episode, and now he's helping again, especially after their big blow up this episode. So she's like, all right, fine. And she opens up about why she was after the worm type. It turns out that the worm type killed her family, because I can't remember if it was the intro or the outro, but there is like a Aki, you see like a present day Aki, and then there's a little girl with similar hair, and I'm like, oh, I wonder, is that supposed to be, and I think I said it at the time, I was like, I wonder, is that like a little sister that died, or is that supposed to be like, oh, this is older Aki, and the little girl behind her is supposed to be like a representation of younger Aki, you know, maybe before she lost her innocence, because it does seem like maybe she was a kid when she lost her family. But like the episode ends, the post credits for the episode is a girl looking at a family photo, and she's kind of got orange hair, and I'm like, oh, was it a twin sister situation? Because like in the photo, the little girls look, I mean, they could just be like a year apart and something, like year and some change apart, but in the photo they look very close in age, and I'm like, are they twins? So I'm like, oh, could it be her mom and dad are dead, but the twin sister is alive? I wonder, is that where we're going to find out that maybe Aki has a twin sister that like got a worm type Mecha-Ude, and it kind of went beyond her control and accidentally killed their parents. Like I said, I'd assume that's what it wants. To be fair, I made the same I'm bringing up the same thing in Yakuza Fiance, where I'm like, am I being stupid? This seems like these characters are twins, but I'm also like, there's a pretty good chance they're not, and I'm just being stupid. But I'm like, characteristically wise, like face wise and hair wise, even though the hair is different colored, the eyes are, it's like they look like twins. Same thing in this bow. So it might be a thing of they're not twins. It might not even be Aki and someone, her sister in that photo. That might be someone unrelated. But I'm like, considering the scenes are back to back like that, and that's meant to be the stinger of all this upon finding out about Aki's family, so either she doesn't know her sister's alive, or she does, and she's just not broaching that conversation. I don't know, this worm type. And I think it's interesting too, because we as the audience, like, we don't even get like a silhouetted flashback showcasing that. We probably will eventually, but we don't even know what this thing looks like that she's after. I mean, it probably looks enough like June's to some extent, because the wounds it made were similar enough that Aki and her Mecha-Udes thought it could be, but the moment they clash with it, it's like, nope, this ain't the same type. So it must not fully visually look like the one June has. Could also be that June's is an artificial one based on a real worm type. A lot of unanswered questions on that front, but we do have, I'm curious to see what happens going forward, considering what Hikaru did and how people in ARMS respond to what he did. And, you know, it's just a matter of being able to replicate that on a more consistent basis. Probably still does have to kind of do, you know, perfect timing, because obviously Dan to Dan came out this day as well. So it's like, oh, like you can, there's kind of supposed to be like some stamina training on that front. Probably the same thing on Hikaru's front too. But he's still pretty fast and mobile, even with like, you know, during his fight with June. I mean, I even love that point where he's like literally grinding and like sliding on like some of the Mecha-Ude as it was attacking him. I mean, Alma helped dodge on some of that, but he's all, you know, helps a lot with his mobility. But it seems pretty mobile even on his own. So, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see, like, did his Arbitrium increase at all now that him and Alma have synced up a little more, or maybe it starts off super low until they fuse together and then it high spikes. I don't know. I'm just curious to see like how they kind of potentially break that down. I did forget to talk about it. Like, I figured Alma was the reason why, like, June's condition was the reason why he wanted Alma, the trigger arm. But it does seem like he's like, yeah, whoever has Alma will have like a stronger body, and it's like, right, it seems like he has a very weak body constitution wise by nature, because he's probably very sick, and he's hoping that Alma will be able to like give him a stronger body to remedy that. So he's probably been like sick his entire life, and this is like the key to all that. But I don't know if his brother ever had any intentions of making Alma the key to fixing his little brother, because it's probably a thing of Alma's too important to just be wasted on you. We have a greater plan. Like I said, I don't even remember if Arms even said last episode what Kagami's plan actually is, besides like enslaving the Mecha-Udes. I don't think we've really gotten the grand plan. Because every time we see Kagami, he doesn't even really talk. He's just like focused on like a computer, and he's just like super stoic. So it doesn't seem like he's like full evil genius villain. But you know, maybe there's a little more complications and nuance to whatever it is that he's after. But either way, I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.